Good morning, guys. So today I'm going to be doing a quick demonstration on how to take a sketch and turn it into a print. A print is basically like a fancy stamp. So the first thing that you need to do in your sketchbook, you should already have a design, at least 3 different choices to pick from so that you can kind of get your ideas going. And then when your design is ready, you're going to come to this center. Now I want to talk about this center here. This is the printmaking center. And there's a couple of things here that you need to know about, a couple of tools. So the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need your sketchbook, you're going to need a ballpoint pen like this, which I have a box full of and it's labeled pen. You're going to need one of these styrofoam plates. This is going to be like, basically think of like your stamp. You're going to be drawing your design into this. But the first thing that you need to know before you start drawing any design is that whatever you're going to print, say I draw my design like this, I'm gonna flip it over. So that means that whatever is gonna show up on my final artwork, my print itself, is gonna be a reverse. So for instance, if you have words in your design or letters, you have to write them backwards on here in order for them to be the right way around, because it's like a mirror. Okay, so if, let's say I wanna write my name on here somewhere, I would have to carve my name in backwards on this plate in order for it to show up the right way around on my final artwork. A couple of other of the tools here. So you got your ballpoint pen, you got your styrofoam sheet. By the way, on your styrofoam sheet, somewhere in the corner, you're gonna wanna put your initials. You can put them on the back if you want. You can just write them on the back, and then of course your class code. That way, we're gonna put these in the dry rack, and then when I take them out, just like any other artwork, because you'll be able to use these more than once. We'll be able to figure out who they belong to. This is called a brayer. And it's kind of like a sort of like a rolling pin that your mom might use to roll out dough in the kitchen, but this is going to roll out our designs. You'll be seeing what that's for in just a moment. And then this stuff here, this is our printing ink. This stuff works really great for printing out designs. It's kind of like toothpaste. It has like the same sort of consistency, and that's important, and you'll see why. Another thing that you're going to need is a cardboard sheet like this. This is where you're going to be rolling the ink out onto your plate. You actually are going to roll the ink out on here first, and then you're going to roll the brayer through it. So let's get into this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to carve my design, all right? All right, so I'm just going to keep it super simple with this design. I'm just going to draw a face. Of course, your design can be whatever you like. And when you're drawing, you want the tip of the pen to sink in to the styrofoam, because the way that the print works is that the ink that you're going to roll across the surface of this styrofoam plate is going to sit on the surface, but it won't be able to go down into the grooves that you're drawing into the styrofoam. It won't be able to go down into the grooves. And so when you add the ink on and then you press it out onto your sheet of paper, the parts where you've drawn are going to appear as white lines. And everything else that you haven't drawn on is going to appear as whatever color of ink that you choose. You do want to add lots of lines though, so like I might even want to get like his forehead in here. The more lines, the more detail that your print is going to have. Less lines, it's going to look very simple and boring, because think about it, if the less lines that are on here, the more of just your color it's going to be. So you want the lines to come in there and kind of break up that monotony of the surface. The background, the negative space, that's the area around the subject of your drawing, is really important too. Don't leave it blank. Add some sort of design in the background. And when you're drawing, you may notice, when you're drawing into the styrofoam, you may notice that if you hold the pen straight up and down, it tends to dig into the styrofoam. But if you hold it at a little bit of an angle, it kind of just glides really smoothly through the styrofoam. Okay, so that's the styrofoam design. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get ready to do the print. I'm going to take my cardboard sheet and I'm just going to put just a little tiny bit of ink. In fact, that's actually a little bit too much. It must have been ready to come out of the tube there. All right, now I'm going to take one of these brayers. I'm actually going to be using 2 for this. Okay, one to roll my ink out and one to roll my design onto my paper. And you'll see why that is in just a moment. So what I'm going to do, I want to make a nice thin layer of ink. I don't want to roll it out too far, but I don't want it to be too thick, because if it's too thick, the ink could go down into the grooves of my drawing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to take my plate and I'm going to take my brayer and I'm going to roll my ink onto the plate. Now you see it's getting thin, so I need to go and grab some more ink. Keep going, picking up that ink with my brayer, rolling it onto my plate. You want to do this kind of quickly because the ink will start to dry out if you take too long. Like if you're doing this all day long, it will start to dry out. Okay, now I'm going to set this brayer aside. That's my dirty brayer. I'm going to take my clean brayer and I'm going to very carefully flip my plate over and try to center it above my piece of paper so that I have a nice border. Then I'm going to take my brayer, and with my two fingers here, I'm holding my print so it can't scooch around, and I'm going to roll it across the whole back side of my plate. I want to go all the way to the corners and the edges. Now the reason why you need to use a clean brayer is because think about it. If I use that one, it would have ink all over it. It would get all around the edges of my print here. So we don't want that. This is called the pull. You pull the plate off one corner at a time, and then there's my print. There's my print. All right? And then this, of course, has got to go into the dry rack. But before I do that, I need to take my trusty pen here, and down in the corner, I need to write my name and my class code. And then that way I will be able to get it back next time we're in class. And that's it. All right, start making your design so that you can make some cool prints.